may have some hope because Michael has agreed to meet after we've had lots of discussions. There is going to be hopefully some more work done a better outcome, and I can't preempt it because it's not, the meetings haven't happened yet. I've just spent last week, the reason I wasn't here last week was because I was on a study tour. One of the things we were studying was affordable housing. And we started in Brisbane and had a look at all the complexes in the city which were affordable housing. This is just one section of it. And we discovered there isn't really anything such as affordable housing, it's subsidised housing. And as far as I'm thinking, we went to other areas of Australia and it's subsidised housing. If people who, and to cut a long story short, therefore I believe they should fully comply with the parking regulations and with all the council overlays. They should fully comply because they're going to be subsidised anyway. And it was very interesting. Went to the Kelvin Grove Urban Village and they were skiting about how they only had 2 car parks for about 300 units. And they gave us afternoon tea. Well, how embarrassing. We turned up and there was a bit of a rally on for more car parking. How could the government do it to them? So there you go. And that's inner city. And I've said all along, I had arguments for the whole week with people on this very subject. Don't treat Birkdale and the Redlands as inner city. People aren't going to just come here and get on the train and go to Brisbane every day. It has to be a community you live in, especially with social housing. They're not all running off to work every day. And that's why the railway station is so wrong too. We don't have employment in great number. We don't have industry, we don't have commercial. We don't have employment enough in this city to say, don't work in Brisbane. 60% of our workers work in Brisbane or somewhere outside the boundary. You can't say to them, well, you're going to walk to the station. We're cutting off our own people. I'm so angry about this, and how many more of these we're going to fight? I have no objection to the Collingwood Road. There's public housing being built as we speak in Collingwood Road. There's some in Wellington Point. I'm sure they'll find more blocks. They're looking everywhere because of the shovel readiness and the huge funding has been made available by the federal government. We were asked straight away if we didn't want the public housing there, where did we want it? Find us a block. Even, I think we were even asked to see if we could swap a block and buy it. You want to pay for that as well. Anyway, I said, your state government knows that this community does not have commercial and industry to take rates off, like Brisbane and Gold Coast and Logan. We are already highly rated, and it's because about 90% or more of our rates come from residential. So it's us paying the way. We are residential. We don't have, and we have no desire to have heavy industry in the Redlands. And that's the price we pay, unfortunately. We travel to Brisbane for our jobs, unless you're lucky like me. I'm at Cleveland High School, where I was deputy principal for 12 years, and I've been in council for 16 years. So I'm very grateful. I'm so grateful I don't have to go to Brisbane every day. But a lot of you do, I know, friend and husband do, so many of you working people do. So, just that was an introduction to show you how passionate I am about this. We are being targeted for inappropriate development, and I'm hoping, Michael has promised me, we'll look at it. We're having a meeting coming up and tell you all about it. There is no specific zoning in our planning scheme for public housing. So public housing can go anywhere where, regardless of the zoning, but of course it's going in this particular case, Res B or medium density, so it is going in generally in accordance with medium density. There is plenty of public housing, as you know. There's non-street that works really well. The Fisher Road lot was closed down because it didn't work well. It was extremely difficult with all those residents together, had huge problems, and the government closed it down. It's now private, which is excellent. And there's public housing all the way through Birkdale, and you wouldn't know it. Because generally it's individual houses. And that's what we have no problem with that. But anyway, in this particular case, we have an issue where the planning scheme is being contravened in the normal manner, where it is everywhere else. We are being slightly overridden, but I say by about 50% or 100% on parking, and the habitat overlay hasn't been fully recognised. I have to say that there is a tree plot where the trees have been plotted, and I've got that there. I was sent this yesterday. There is a tree plot, and I noticed that to get onto the habitat issues with the overlay, the most of the koala trees are on the Thorn Road Council land on our footpath, and there's one on the boundary, and I think the one on the boundary has been earmarked to be removed, the big one. So possibly for safety reasons, I want to have a look at that one and see if I can see if it's savable. And the government was going to save quite a few along the back, which are mainly grey ironbarks and some melaleucas. And then, so you can see that picture there, where just where the heavier dots are, that's the corner. And right on our footpath, in fact, is where the best habitat is probably. Then down the corner, the back corner of the block, down the block, and across the second block, closest to the childcare centre, is some melaleucas, Melaleuca quinquenuvia, and they also are koala habitat for line of nature. The major nature, the best koala habitat is right up the top here.
So can we say?
Well, under the overlay, the conditions on the council's overlay are that as much habitat is to be saved, and what can't be saved needs to be planted in offsets. And so, at this point, subject to our meeting on Monday, we might have good news that a lot more will be saved, hopefully. And that's what we're looking for, obviously.
Trees exist in the undergrowth. That's right.
Okay, well, that sort of stuff will be discussed by Dan Clark. We have a meeting coming up. But you cannot ask anyone to keep weeds. You can't ask them to keep the camphor laurel. You can't ask them to keep the poinciana. And you can't ask them to keep the tipuanas. They are not protected species, and they have the right to put 20 units on that block. There is the right to put 20 units on the block. Any developer had that right, you've heard that previously. So, let's see what we can come up with. The government has heard your cries, which I think are absolutely brilliant, and the other one, which is, of course, hottest one, is the parking. Because the parking itself is, as you know, recently I've installed restricted parking along the street, or to make it a drop-off zone, and the council is considering extending it the full length of the street, which means morning and afternoon peak hour school days, you are going to end up only park there for 5 minutes. We're trying to sort out the huge chaos that occurs here twice a day on weekdays and school days. And you can understand other times it's not as busy, but this is a rat running area. Of course, people try to come through to avoid the lights at Agnes Street. So that's where we are. I'm happy to see Michael here today. It was the first meeting when we came together. I sort of was calling it if Michael came, and then Michael couldn't come, but we still had the meeting and residents called it. I'm so delighted that you've all been able to come together and put your feelings and emotions into this, because I think we can come up with a good outcome, Michael. I'm trying to be positive, and hopefully have another meeting next week, or be able to get some information out.